What a weekend we had in Durham, North Carolina. The basketball game last night, we saw how dominant Duke is. Truly one of, if not the best team in the entire country. And what a wild football game between the Blue Devils and SMU. We got to discuss all of it.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. Grateful to start another week with you here on Locked On Blue Devils. Our podcast is your one-stop shop for everything going on in the life of Duke athletics. We've got a lot to talk about with the fact that we have Duke picking up the win last night over Arizona State in men's basketball. An exciting finish for the football game against SMU. Want to give a big congrats to Duke women's soccer, the number one team in the country. They played the number two team in the country, Wake Forest, yesterday and won by a score of 2-0. So a lot of good things happening for Duke athletics, and we're going to spend a lot of time talking about basketball here on today's show with our good friend Jordan Mann of the Big J and Little J Show. If you have not done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating and written review. Also, make sure that you check us out on YouTube to watch the show each and every day. Like this video, share it with your friends. Your support means so much to us there on YouTube. Follow us on X at LO_Blue Devils and follow me there as well at _JJ_Jackson_. So we bring him on into today's program. It is Jordan Mann here with us. And after last night's game, you're going to have a hard time convincing me Duke isn't one of the very best teams in the entire country. What a display they had against Bobby Hurley and Arizona State there in the Brotherhood run. Hope you're doing well, Jordan.
I'm doing good, JJ. I recovered from Saturday's loss against SMU, watched Duke Sunday, put on a clinic like you said, and look, Duke scored over 100 points, and they did not look very efficient in the first half, which we'll talk about. And that just shows you how scary they are. I mean, they won by 56 points and could have played better in the first half.
Yeah, you see a tale of two halves often in sports that you'll talk about from time to time. And anytime that becomes the narrative that you want to throw out there, it feels like, okay, it's a tale of two halves. The first half was horrible. We're down by so many. Got to make this crazy comeback in the second half. And even in that case, that's not true, Jordan. Like in that first half, Duke still had a comfortable lead against Arizona State. It was just that second half was total destruction of Arizona State, and Duke put on an absolute clinic to win more than comfortably. That's what's so crazy about a game like last night. And I know it's an exhibition game, but it's an exhibition game against a team that's currently number 71 in Kim Pomeroy's rankings going into the regular season. It's not against a Division II team like they had beaten the week prior. Like, give some respect to what Duke was able to do.
Yeah, like I agree with you. And Duke was playing good in the first half in terms of open looks. They just weren't hitting the open looks like they were in the second half. I know Duke shot 50% from three in the game. Felt like Duke shot 25% from three in the first half and 75% in the second half. There was a clinic in the second half where I think Knipple hit 2 or 3 in a row. Darren Harris hit one. Sion James hit one. Foster hit 1 or 2. It seemed like Duke went like 8 straight possessions hitting threes. And I know I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it just shows you like the cliche, you live by the 3, die by the 3. Duke was living as a king from 3, shooting the ball in the second half.
Which is why in some of those bigger games, I'll hear folks out. Maybe if that is the case, they would, quote, die by the 3 in a couple of games if the shots aren't falling. However, if the defense plays at the level that they've been playing so far to start the year, that might not necessarily be the case either. I mean, this Duke team is so well constructed, and on the defensive end of the floor, the offense kind of makes you forget that, wait a minute, that second half was amazing because Duke was scoring so many points. Arizona State still couldn't make shots. They weren't getting good looks. The Duke defense was hounding and pestering them the entire time.
Yes, the defense, dude, it is looking really good in October, which is scary because normally you progress. Your offense looks better than your defense all the time early in the season. It's just the way it is. Your defense picks up again as the season goes along, and Duke's defense was swarming around Arizona State. Arizona State was shooting tough looks the whole game. Even when Duke was up 50 points in the second half, Duke Isaiah Evans forces a backcourt violation. You got guys diving for the ball. You got Duke playing a zone and forcing turnovers out of a zone. Like Duke's defense, clear as day, we've talked about it numerous times on this show, JJ. The transfers have set the tone for Duke's intensity, it seems like. I mean, Mason Gillis, Sion James, and Malik Brown have played outstanding in these two scrimmage and now an exhibition game.
Without a doubt. It's been so much fun to watch the newcomers make an impact right away. The freshmen stealing the show, creating headlines of their own. And Cooper Flagg is the reason that so many people are going to be aware of Duke basketball this season. He didn't even get into double figures scoring. Like, he's not one of the big takeaways that people would have had necessarily watching that basketball game. What does that tell you? That Duke beats again a group of 5, Big 6, whatever you want to call it in basketball these days, schools. Ken Pomeroy's 71st ranked team in the country, and Cooper Flagg, the number 1 pick of the 2025 draft, was in single digits.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks on the depth that Duke has that I think everybody's and that is around Duke has been talking about. Like, yes, Cooper Flagg is the name, but Duke's not going to live and die by Cooper Flagg's performance because they're so loaded with guys that feed off each other so well. Like, the roster is beautifully constructed to where Cooper Flagg has 9 points on 3 of 9 shooting, and you win by 56 points against the 71st best team in the country. Yes, it's like Duke doesn't need Cooper Flagg to score 18 points per game for them to win, and that's why I've been trying to tell people it's okay if Flagg averages 14 or 15 points and does everything else non-scoring well, because you have Conn Nipple that can get you 15 on 5 shots. You have Sion James having 14 or whatever he had off the bench, like, and Proctor and Foster. Like, you have all these weapons besides Cooper Flagg. And so Cooper Flagg will continue to draw eyeballs for Duke, and then those people will see that Duke is loaded.
It's a scary hour. It's scary time right now for the Duke basketball team. They haven't even played a regular season game. Maybe we need to pump the brakes a little bit, or maybe we don't, Jordan. Maybe we need to keep having a whole lot of fun. We're going to dive into a little bit more of the box score and look at the Duke basketball game as a whole after we take our first break here on today's show. Locked On Blue Devils is here today, and it's brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is the best. It is America's #1 sports book. Get ready to tackle all the NFL action with FanDuel. New customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get the hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL and a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. All right, Locked On Blue Devils here today. JJ Jackson joined by my good friend Jordan Mann. He has the Big J and Little J show. Why don't you take a moment and tell us a little bit about your show, Jordan?
Yeah, the Big J and Little J show, covering Duke football right now. This week we'll be talking about Duke basketball, so we'll be double dipping with the podcast. 2 shows this week, and then you can follow me on or subscribe to my YouTube channel, jman_, where I do film breakdowns. I did a film breakdown of this game last night when I got off work about 12:31, and so the grind never stops. JJ, Duke basketball is here, and Duke basketball is the content we're going to be pushing.
Yeah, we love it. And a big win for Duke last night. A lot to talk about. 103-47, the final score over Arizona State, as the Blue Devils win both of their exhibition games. And now 1 week from today, Monday, November 4th, the day prior to Election Day, Duke will play Maine to open up the 2024-2025 season officially. So I'll touch on this. You mentioned it a moment ago, and then I'd love for you to highlight another stat. We've got the box score up on our screen for those watching on YouTube, but 17 of 34 from three-point range for the Duke basketball team. Truly unbelievable. What Conn Nipple did in the second half, had back-to-back three-point shots made that resulted in Bobby Hurley calling a timeout, and then quickly out of the break, he hits another one, is fouled on the play. It's a 4-point play to knock it down. Sion James was knocking him down from the outside. Darren Harris comes in off the bench. Mason Gillis was able to knock down a few. The fact that Duke, again, shot 50% from three-point range on 34 attempts is truly bonkers. I mean, wow, what a display we saw from the outside with Duke.
Yeah, and they shot 62% from three in the second half, 23 of 37. Duke scored 66 points in the second half. Like, the second half was insane offensively. Just efficiency was through the roof. Like you said, you touched on the guy, Sion James. If Sion James hits 3 threes in a game for Duke, and like he does that day in, day out, which I know he won't, it's a great sign for this team because he's more of a slasher. I mean, he's built for a guy to finish at the rim, which he did. But if he's hitting 3 or 4, and I mean, he hit one JJ off the bounce, dribbled, guy went under the screen, no hesitation, and pulled it. And that's what you want to see. That's what Shire wants to see.
Right. 5 guys in double figures for the Duke basketball team. Cooper Flagg had 9. Kama Malawach had 8. So a couple of more guys close to eclipsing that double figures mark. I also like looking on the screen here at this box score. How about dominating the rebounding battle as well? 47-31 in favor of Duke.
Yeah. Duke's defense, they dominated the rebounding, 47-31, like you said, and they made Arizona State shoot tough ones. They shot 28% from the field, 25 from the 3. Like, it was an onslaught. 21 points in the first half for Arizona State, and then as the blowout continued, you'd think that they would score in garbage time. They had 26 points in the second half. So, like, Duke, like I said, never took their foot off the gas against Bobby Hurley out of all coaches. You'd think there'd be some sort of, hey, let Bobby get to 50, and Duke's like, no. And so that's the killer instinct you want to have for this Duke team playing Maine coming up. Like, this Duke team is not going to take anybody lightly.
We haven't even really mentioned Bobby Hurley coming back, and we should. I mean, one of the most decorated players in Duke basketball history, still the NCAA career leader in assists. I don't know when anybody's ever going to be able to break that record for him. He's got his number 11 jersey retired in the rafters, 2 national championships. His son checked into the game at the end last night, so Hurley was able to play inside Cameron Indoor Stadium, which was really cool. And I thought the way Duke honored him and recognized him with Coach K in the building. They had Grant Hill on the ACC Network broadcast last night. Like, that was really cool, man, for the Brotherhood run to come together for the first time. All the proceeds going to benefit the Duke Children's Hospital. And, oh, yeah, we won by 56.
Yeah, it was an awesome experience all the way around with the exhibition and, like you said, Duke Hospital. And it was a great performance. It was the perfect day to be a Duke fan and to be associated with Duke. And I'm looking forward to playing Maine, JJ. I really am. I can't wait for the season to get started officially.
I thought there was an interesting conversation on the broadcast last night, if we were watching on the ACC Network, about this rotation. And we've been talking about it a whole lot ourselves, Jordan, throughout the offseason, where, it's like 9 guys that you would love to really have if you're John Shire. He's talked about that as much. But the way some of these guys are playing, it's going to be really hard not to justify 10 or 11 guys getting a good bit of run for this Duke team. Like, that's a crazy scenario that Duke has found themselves in.
Yeah, I mean, I think it still will be like an 8-man rotation. They might play 10 early in the season, but when conference play comes around, I think you have to shrink it to 8. But one guy in particular that is really making a name for himself to try and be an extra guy is Darren Harris. I mean, It's one guy, he played 13 minutes, he had 10 points. Like, if you're going to have almost a point per minute you play, how can you not be on the floor? And Darren Harris is very proven. He's very savvy scoring the ball. And if he can play defense, which he has shown so far that in his minutes, then how can you keep him off the floor?
Without a doubt. I mean, he's been awesome to watch so far this season. I thought coming into the year, Isaiah Evans would get more recognition because he did in the recruiting rankings when you look at a lot of his teammates, and he just hasn't been playing as much as the other guys. And that just speaks simply to how deep this team is. I think a lot of people want to focus on the defense and that sort of thing. And I do too. Like, I want to make sure that Duke is scoring more than the other team if the shots aren't falling in days like that. And when you've got a team as deep as this Duke roster is, I think they're going to be in a good spot.
Yeah, there's always going to be an odd man out, and Isaiah is doing a good job. He's still scoring. He hit a tough shot. He hit a tough runner off the glass with 3. Like, he can score it among the best. Like, we saw it at North Mecklenburg. He can shoot it. He's just behind in the rotation. That's not a shot at him for, what he is as a skill set. His skill set's very talented. It just shows this Duke team is loaded, like we've talked about. And it's funny, I'm seeing like guys or I'm seeing like Duke fans tweet like, where's Isaiah? Where's like Darren Harris? I'm like, this Duke team's up 50 points. Like whatever the rotation is right now, it's working. Like Shire has a good feel on this roster, and I trust Shire to continue to pull the right strings and let this Duke team reach its untapped potential.
Yeah, he's getting it done at the end of the day. I misspoke a little bit earlier. There were 6 players in double figures. Sorry for the miscount there. Cooper Flack had 9 and Kamen Malawak had 8. I mean, the scoring is crazy with what the Duke team's going to be able to do. And then the last thing I want to touch on here, Jordan, how about 7 turnovers for Duke basketball compared to 18 for Arizona State? In college basketball, in the year of our Lord, 2024, going into the 2025 season as well, to have single digits in the turnover department, really impressive. Like, that's going to be hard to do throughout the course of the regular season, and Duke took care of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, they had 7 turnovers on 71 possessions.
Yeah.
They had 71 field goal attempts. They turned it over 7 times, or 78 possessions then. But like and 25 assists. So let me backtrack all the way, JJ. 38 made field goals, 25 assists on those made field goals, and only 7 turnovers. That is crazy efficiency. Like, this team is just right now, they're a well-oiled machine. I know it's in October. I know they've played Lincoln, and I know they've played exhibition against Arizona State. I don't care. Duke looks good. We're going to talk about how good Duke can look going into the season.
They're going to look amazing going into the season, and that's a conversation we'll continue to have over the next few days and the weeks to come. We've got to step aside for our next break. We'll come back. How about the football game over the weekend? What a wild contest that was to watch for Manny Diaz and the Duke football team. We'll have that conversation after this break. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Game Time is the best. They've got a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time Picks with their curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concert, comedy, theater events, and so much more. I love the seat views from within the app. You can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. With the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time's going to credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time, a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. All right, back on the program. Jordan Mann is here with us. We got to talk Duke football now in our final segment on today's show. Duke falls on Saturday to SMU by a score of 28-27. A crazy game, no matter how you look at it, as SMU had 6 turnovers on the game. Duke had 0, and yet they walk away losers on the scoreboard as they lost in overtime. They went for 2 on the final play of the game. It was an incomplete pass, and SMU escapes Durham with a win. Even their head coach, Rhett Lashley, a former offensive coordinator on Manny Diaz's staff at Miami, walks away thinking, how did we just win a football game when we turned the ball over 6 times? And that's the question that Duke's asking all throughout their facility over the course of this week, Jordan. That was insane.
Yeah, I think I handled the loss well, JJ. It was a truly once-in-a-lifetime type of way to lose. I think coming into that game, a team that was -6 in the turnover department was 1-124 all time. And that just shows what it's like to be a Duke football fan. Like, you have to be built tough in this fandom, because when you think there's an impossible way to lose, it just happens. And
think again.
think again. And like, I made the rant at the end, like, thought the jump pass was a bad way to lose. The lateral play against Miami where his knee was down, blocking the back was overturned, all that stuff. This is a new way to lose. The 4th and 16 seems like not so bad anymore. And look, I just hope I hope it doesn't derail the season like the lateral play did against Miami.
Good point.
Off the top of my head, I think Duke was 6 or 7-1 going into that game. Duke was ranked 22nd in the country, and they lose that game, and then Duke loses, I think, 3 out of 4 to end the season or something like that. So So I hope it doesn't derail the season as Duke plays number 6 Miami this upcoming year. Or this upcoming week. I just hope they bounce back. And look, it's just the special teams needs help in all phases of the kicking game. I mean, you have you have a missed hold, like the PAT that Polino missed wasn't on Polino. That was a bad hold. He kicked it left, and then he missed the 42-yard field goal to go up, and then you got a guy hurdling 2 blockers on a game-winning field goal attempt, and it's deflating, JJ. But the defense is truly historic for Duke, and I love watching them play defense. I can see why Iowa loves watching their defense play, because that's how I feel when I watch Duke football's defense.
Yeah, I mean, you'd love to see the offense pick it up a little bit. They made plays, though. At one point in this game, it's 21-7, and Duke doesn't give up. They find the drives. They find the way to get back into it and put those points on the board, thanks to their defense for keeping them in it by not giving up more and more points in those scenarios. But to just not be able to move the ball on offense late in the second half to set up more game-winning field goal opportunities or decisions where you have to punt the ball because you're not going to trust the field goal unit to get the job done here and put you up. That hurts. That came back and really hurt this team. Even they're in overtime, like SMU scores, and you're thinking, well, is Duke going to be able to do anything? And a dime was thrown by Malik Murphy to Eli Pankel in the corner of the end zone to set them up for that 2-point conversion opportunity. And that's the right decision made by Manny Diaz, and you live with it at the end of the day. I know that always creates some conversation amongst fan bases when your team does just go for the win and go for 2. I think he made the right call there, and Duke just didn't execute on the play.
Yeah, I agree. It's the right decision. I know Manny said it wasn't due to kicking. That's why they went for 2. Even if it was, it's the right decision 10 out of 10 times. Go for the win. And I'm not gonna blame officiating on a potential missed PI when, again, Duke's defense forced 6 turnovers. The offense scored 0 points off those turnovers.
Yeah.
It's just like that. Duke, you deserve to lose the game when you cannot score off turnovers.
Right.
6 of them. 6,
Yeah.
JP. 6.
Yeah, and as we were talking about it, and Manny Diaz talked about it even in his interview at halftime there were 6 turnovers, but there were more than that. And an interception that was overturned due to a pass interference call, replay reviews not going Duke's way. SMU fumbled a few times and was able to recover it themselves. I mean, the Duke defense were ball hawks all day long. Like, that number should have been more than 6. Which makes it even more depressing thinking about the fact they still lost that game.
I'm pretty sure, I'm not even exaggerating when I say this, SMU had 9 fumbles, I'm pretty sure. And then the overturned interception that was, or the PI, they call it PI on the interception, which I thought was BS. So basically 10 turnovers, potential turnovers, JJ, and a goal line stand, and should have been 2 goal line stands because SMU should not have scored on that 4th and goal to start the game, or their first touchdown. Like, Trey Freeman has to make that tackle at the 2-yard line. So you're talking about 2 potential goal line stands, 10 potential turnovers, and you don't win the game. And it's just like, my goodness. And I will, like you said, I will give the flowers to the offense in this capacity, that it was 21-7, and they did go right back down and score. And then they scored again, and that was 21-21. Like, that was cool to see and much needed to see as a Duke fan, to show, like, hey, the defense isn't perfect. Defense gave up a gashing play to make it 21-7. Offense goes right back and scores. That's what you want to see for a good football program, but you have to be consistent on both sides of the ball.
Duke is now 6-2, 2-2 in league play, 4 games left on the year. To your point, you just don't want to see this fall off from here. A tough test this Saturday at Miami. Miami has opened up as a 20-point favorite, according to our friends at FanDuel. An emotional return game for Manny Diaz. So hopefully Duke's kind of able to get the job done there. Final thoughts, Jordan, before we get you out of here today.
Yeah, I mean, I just think for Duke football, final thoughts?
Yeah.
I think that they just need to be a collective unit, like ignore the outside noise that is me and as other media members and also fans that are talking
Crazy
about
fans,
that are talking about the turnovers and whatever. Just lock in. Miami is the main focus, obviously. Manny Diaz, David Feely, like there's obviously an agenda that Duke has against Miami because they did Manny Diaz wrong. They did David Feely wrong. They did the coaching staff wrong. And I think the players really want to win this for their head coach. Clearly, I mean, that's a cliche, but they really do. It's a tight-knit group. And just go out and have fun and show me special teams has made a jump. Like if Duke goes the first drive, JJ, they go and make a 39-yard field goal. I will celebrate like we won the SMU game because I'm like, thank God the ball went through the uprights.
Right. I love it. I love it. Well, Jordan, it's great to see you, man. Fun Duke basketball win, crazy Duke football game, and you'll have a lot of coverage over at the Big J and Little J show this week as well. Thanks for being here, man.
It's always a pleasure, brother.
All right. That's J-Man joining us here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. We're back at it again tomorrow, talking more about this basketball team, more football thoughts throughout the week, and so much more. Make sure that you subscribe to our podcast. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.